No, I cannot. I see that you're on. I got your chat, but I don't see you.
Hello.
Hello. I still can't see you.
Yeah, I know. Do you need me on for all of these today?
Do I need you on for all of them?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hi, Sarah. Oh, I thought you were Karen.
Sorry, no, I'm Sarah. Lou.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I know. I still can't see what setting do I change? Karin, can you hear me? Or do you need me to type it?
I think I know what it is.
Can you guide her through that? Maybe send it to her in the chat, because I got to finish filling this out.
Okay. Let's see, Karen. Okay, Karen, did you type in the Zoom number into the Zoom app? That's what I just did, and it brought me to being an attendee. I had to actually go and click on the link within the Zoom email that I sent out. That stated that you're a panelist. I'll resend it so that's at the top of your inbox. Okay. There we go.
You see me?
Yes. What is that reverberation?
Can you hear
Hi,
me?
love. How you doing?
I'm good. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yep, all good now.
Okay, good. Let me get rid of my laptop. I was trying to figure it all out with everything else, and I'm on my desktop. Yeah. Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk with you today.
I've got all kinds of really fabulous notes and info and discounts and everything.
Oh, you do have discounts. Okay, so let's say that at the beginning of the interview, because what I'd like to do is try to give as much away as we can during the interview to anybody who makes a comment. And if we don't have a lot of response, because we're a little early today, we've been starting at noon, then I'll just run it for the rest of the day and encourage people like, hey, there's a discount here. You need to sign up for it. So we'll run it today.
Sure.
And we'll collect everybody's information in the comments.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So let me prepare this.
You look beautiful.
Thank you.
Hi, Sarah, if you can still hear me.
I can. Hi, Karen. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank
Are
you.
you guys both going to be at San Jose in a couple weeks?
I will, Sarah will not.
Okay, I'll be there. I'm going to be helping out Ashley in her booth and then just cruising around.
Nice. I think
Yes.
that Simone and I are going to do something with Ashley at at NCIA.
Cool.
Okay, are you almost ready to go live? Because we're going to do it here in a second. And then, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to I'm going to introduce you. And Karin Clarke, CEO of KC Business Solutions. And then I'm going to ask you the question, and then we're just going to get right into the conversation.
Okay, before we start, let me ask you one quick question. How do you want it to not sound confusing between KC Business Solutions and Cannabis Trainers? Because 2 of my classes are Cannabis Trainers and 1 of mine is KC Business.
So do you want me to put both then?
Sure.
And Cannabis Trainers. Okay.
Great.
All right. Ready, spaghetti?
Yes.
All right. Are we live? Is it going live?
I'm glad you're playing with that part, not me. One day that will be me.
I don't know. It's not saying that we're going live.
It's not popping up yet.
Technology, it's our foe and our friend.
So much so, man. All right. Well, we do have another minute.
Remember to share it from Caden to Caden.
From Kaden, yes.
We're live.
Hello, ladies, and welcome to day 2 of the Making of the Smartest Person in the Room. I'm so happy to have you with us again today. This morning, our first guest is Karin Clarke. She is the CEO of Clarke Business Solutions and Cannabis Trainers. So we're super happy to have you here today talking about employee training. Thank you, Karin.
Sure, no problem. I have to make a correction. I am CEO of KC Business Solutions, and I am the lead trainer for Cannabis Trainers with Maureen McNamara.
And I have it sitting right in front of me saying that. I'm not getting off to a very good start this morning. Yesterday was exhausting. I could not believe how hard I slept, and apparently I'm still a little foggy this morning. So
that's quite all right. I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that I am not the CEO of Cannabis Trainers. Maureen is, and I am the CEO of KC Business.
Excellent.
Yes.
So Karin, you are here today to talk with us about employee training, which is, I feel, an underrepresented and there's not enough sense of urgency about this area, and there really should be. So I'm really curious to know what your answer is to what do we need to know about employee training and certification to be the smartest person in the room?
So to be the smartest person in the room, you have to understand why it's important to train your employees. And training your employees provides not just professionalism, accountability, and setting expectations for your team, your company, your brand, but it also sets them for the employees. So when employees know what to do when they get to work every day or when they go out in the field, they're going to be better producers, revenue generators. They're going to hold your brand to the highest accountability. And if we don't do that, and we don't train our employees, and we don't provide them mentorship and accountability and KPIs, the key performance indicators about what is expected of them every day, they're going to just go do whatever they want to go do, which might not be your job or their job. And they're going to bill you for those hours, and it's not going to be a great revenue producer for you as a brand or as a company. So, you know what, and then let's add on top of that, that the state, with regards to cannabis, has requirements for specific employees and what certifications they need to have with regards to manufacturers or even for distribution, and also for retailers. Let's go to the manufacturers part of it. The manufacturers, everybody who produces an edible has to have every employee that touches that edible certified in a nationally certified food safety class. Everyone, it's in the regulations. I forget which page it's on, but it's in there, and I can provide a link to that page and that regulation after this class. And it's required. So the strange and unusual thing about that is that through cannabis trainers with the ServSafe certification, we have certified maybe 6 manufacturers in the entire state of California.
What?
Yeah, and it states in there that they have
about it being the most lack of urgency area that needs a lot of urgency.
Right, and you have to have your employees certified in this training within 90 days of hiring them. Yes. So then there's the retailers. On the retail level, there's also a responsible vendor clause in many of the local jurisdictions. The state doesn't have that, but several local jurisdictions, LA being one of them. I just did a whole training up in Mammoth Lakes, and in order for the dispensary retail staff to go on the floor and sell cannabis, they have to have a responsible vendor program done and completed and certified before they can even start on the floor. That's just one local jurisdiction. There's many local jurisdictions that have different regulations behind a responsible vendor program. It's very similar to the alcohol vendor program. And we've done even fewer classes for the Sell Smart class, which is the responsible vendor program, than we have for food safety.
So why do you think it's so hard to get people signed up and taking this seriously?
Because I don't think that a lot of, and I'm not saying this of all brands, I think that the brands themselves, I think that all of us are very concerned with getting lab tests done, getting, our products on the shelves, because it's such a big mess right now that some of these other requirements are just being completely overlooked. Or I know several brands, several retailers that rely 100% on their attorneys to write all their SOPs and to do all their application. And a lot of the actual owners of the brands, of any kind of brand in cannabis, they're not reading the regulations themselves. So for me, what I say is what to do to be the smartest person in the room. Know your regulations. Know what's required of you. Don't count on someone else to read those and interpret them for you. Read them yourself. It's in black and white what these regulations are at the local level and the state. And of course, there's some gray area because we all have written to the BCC and the Department of Public Health to get questions answered because it's vague or gray. But there's quite a few, especially with regards to employee training, it's not gray, it's black and white.
Wow. So, I feel like listening to everyone yesterday and now kind of digging in. Yesterday we talked about the supply chain, so it was kind of more of an overview of everything. Now we're really drilling down. We looked a little bit at regulations yesterday with packaging and distribution because now we have to have a third-party person deliver. But we really didn't get too deep into the cost of not following these regulations.
Sure.
Listening to this on top of what I heard yesterday, it's really apparent to me that a lot of people who are starting cannabis businesses are not prepared at all to actually run this complicated of a business. And it's going to be a lot of these kinds of things being pushed off the table or under the rug and completely ignored that's going to bring down a lot of businesses in the next year.
Well, what I find interesting is that in the food industry, restaurants, you go into restaurants and ServSafe certification is required for anybody who handles food. It's the exact same class. We customize it to cannabis, but the class requirement written into the regs is the exact same ServSafe class. So have some of those brands gone on and done a ServSafe class elsewhere? Maybe, but probably not. Most of them don't even understand what the ServSafe class is. Some of them may have some of their employees have already been food safety certified through a restaurant that they worked at. And that's fantastic. That certification follows the employee and they can use that. They can put it on the wall. That's great. But all the rest of the employees still have to be trained within 90 days and certified.
What kind of training is a must for bud tenders?
With the state, 0.
Okay.
So There is written into the regs that it states that all training has to be put into the employee's file with a description of what that training is. But that doesn't have any responsible vendor program, written into those regulations. That's all happening at the local level. Like the city of Los Angeles, which is where I am. The city of Los Angeles states specifically that you have to have a Department of Cannabis Regulation, DCR, and LA Police Department approved class for bud tenders that has to be done within 30 days of them being hired. So I contacted the DCR and I contacted the LA Police Department, and nobody can talk to me about any of this because they have not gotten to that yet.
So just because it's not now doesn't mean it won't be coming in the future.
Well, it's in the regulations, black and white. So when I called the DCR to find out, well, what is that class? They said, we don't have it yet. So I said, okay, well, we do. Here, I'm sending you it. And so it's sitting on someone's desk. That's just the way this is all going.
So when we talked with Carrie Radstock yesterday about packaging, she said that she was just shocked at how many people waited till the last minute.
Right, and then trying to get packaging from overseas is like a 120-day process.
Are we going to find the same situation now where we knew that we needed to get this done, but just because there was no outlet to get it done, is there a deadline that we're going to be facing where we could have these same kinds of problems with having all of these people not certified and trained properly?
Absolutely. And I am one human being servicing the entire state of California.
You're the only one doing this?
In California, yes. I mean, if I have to call Maureen and have her come and do classes with me and start doing this, yes. With cannabis trainers, I am the California trainer. And we've had since November of last year, pushing this out there to all of the brands and on social media, everywhere that we can find an outlet to say, hey, we're doing the classes, sign up, get your employees trained now. And I find it very interesting that we've gone and done some in Sacramento in the Bay Area and in San Diego, and I've had to cancel 3 classes here in the LA area because nobody signed up.
Why?
So we're putting them out there. We have places to do that. I think it's lack of information. It's lack of understanding that these are required.
What is the requirement date?
What do you mean?
When do we have to have, so we knew the packaging date was July 1st.
Right.
What is the date?
So food safety, the food safety certification for an edibles manufacturer is within 30 days of hiring the employee.
Okay.
And that certification is valid for 3 years after they get certified.
So this is so interesting. So you've got 30 days to get them certified, but there's no one checking to make sure that they're certified right now. And
well, when the Department of Public Health comes in and sees that there is no certification on their walls, they will get fined for that.
And that's it, just a fine. It's not anything more egregious.
So it's a moderate violation.
Okay.
It's not a minor, it's a moderate violation.
Okay.
And actually, I'm pulling up, I am pulling up some information. Hold on. I'm not able to find it easy. Oh, well. And then within the state, within the city of Los Angeles for the responsible vendor program, it's also within 30 days of hiring. You have to have your bud tenders do the responsible vendor program, which does not exist in the city of Los Angeles. So instead of just going, okay, well, there isn't one, that the city says there is one that we can do, and you can have a certification for all your employees, and you can say, hey, Mr. LA enforcement agent, I have this certification for all my bud tenders, all my employees. We've gone through this responsible vendor program. Here it is. Here's the company that did it. Call them, talk to them, and they're certified with 3 other states to be their responsible vendor program. I had the regulators in Mono County sit in when I did the Mammoth Lakes training, and they were blown away at what we taught in this class. It's a 5-hour class. It's very comprehensive. We go over everything from safe receiving to checking IDs to tricky situations, the laws, the requirements for packaging, dosing, all of that. We go over all the regulations that stand for what the bud tenders need to know and what the state law is requiring.
And so, are each of those things a violation? So
Both.
somebody comes in from the state, undercover, violation for not IDing properly, violation for not taking the right receipts, violation for inventory control, and then on top of that, you get a fine for not having them certified.
Well, there's no fine for not having them certified in responsible vendor from the state, but there is a fine for every other one of those items that you just listed off. Not checking IDs properly. They have a sting come in and they have an underage person walk in who's 18 years old and doesn't have the correct ID. They let them in. It's a bad, that's a fine and a suspension of your license for, I believe it's 10 days, 15 days. Yeah, there's issues here. And we can, I just did one for a dispensary in the Los Angeles area 2 weeks ago, a private class for a dispensary, and it was, we have fun. It's a rocking class, we enjoy the process and we make these regulations fun and exciting and silly because people need to remember them. And this is a dispensary that I work with to do training with in other areas, and they were so happy to have this training done. And they were blown away. A lot of the bud tenders didn't know some of this information. So let's get them trained.
So interesting.
Yeah, and then at the distribution level, there's still a responsible vendor area there as well. So for distribution, taking the responsible vendors class, when you have sales reps going in and talking to bud tenders and other people about products, they also need to know some of those rules. So it's not necessarily geared towards distribution, but for sure it's not something, it's not that doesn't have anything to do with us. It absolutely has something to do with you as a distributor. And then, if they need how to sell, they need sales training, because there's a lot of people who walk into the space who have no idea how to sell something. They don't know the protocols, they don't know the steps. So in my previous life, in my previous job, I was the VP of sales for 2 big corporations, and I've done sales training for the majority of my career. So training salespeople is what I can do in my sleep, and to train any sales staff, that's a separate class, separate training of just how to sell in a saturated market, how to do time management, how to hear a no 1,000,000 times and not get discouraged. There's a lot of that, and we're in a very saturated market of 55 different vape carts, except there's probably not that many on the market right now. Unfortunate.
There's 1 or 2.
Right. So there's a lot to be done. The sales training class is not required by any means, but the responsible vendor and food safety is.
So we have a co-host on with us today. Her name is Kim, and she is from the Her Highness podcast, and she has a question for you about.
Hi, how are you guys? I fought to get here.
So what is your question for Karin today? Oh, wait a second. For some reason, you just got muted. Hold on. Oh, there you go. Welcome, Kim. Hello.
Oh, there I go. Hi, how are you guys? I fought questions for you. Hi, Karin. How are you? First of all, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you. My question is, being that the marijuana industry is still so fairly new, and of course, a lot of individuals are still learning themselves, who particularly are training these employees, staff, and employers?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, no, I was
Training them on what?
Training them on the employee training and staff training in order to stay compliant with the federal laws. And is there people being hired to do these trainings, or specialty people that's being hired? I just want to know, because I know they're still new and we're all learning, and I know that from maybe in the nursing industry, you have maybe the nurse manager that may be training, but what persons are training these dispensary staff members or these dispensary staff and employees?
You know, there's a couple of, well, we're doing the responsible vendor program. So we're doing what's considered bud tender training, not about specific strains of cannabis, but about what the laws, regulations, and requirements are for checking IDs. What is a valid ID? What are the laws, like what you can sell, what you can't sell, what the packaging needs to look like, all of those type of issues, safety and security. So we talk about all of those sections, and we do certification training on that. So there's a test at the end of that. However, if a manager at a dispensary is doing any training with regards to strains or dosing or any of that, that is not a certified test. That's just training. And whether or not that's happening or not, I don't know. I mean, I know some dispensaries that have their employees far more trained than others. And I still walk into dispensaries and ask questions and get very bad information.
Right.
So,
yeah. Yes, ma'am. I have one more question for you. What are your thoughts of a registered nurses providing medical education to these dispensaries for employee training and staff training? What are your thoughts of bringing in a medical professional as opposed to, I know that bud tenders are good at their job, but they're not trained medical staff or trained medical health professional. What are your thoughts of bringing in maybe a registered nurse or a physician in order to provide those education for staff and employee training?
I think that medical advice should be dispensed by the medical professionals, and giving bud tenders any information about medical advice would be a bad idea. Right. However, training them on the endocannabinoid system, training them on protocols, that's a different story. But I also think that there's other resources available for that as well. I'm also a trained health coach. I'm a certified health coach and a certified cannabis coach through the Holistic Cannabis Academy, which does not make me a doctor, nor do I play one on the internet. But I also do not dispense any medical advice. And if anybody has a question about whether or not a medication is contraindicated with cannabis, I always refer them back to their physician. So I think that's there's a very fine line there, because we definitely don't want bud tenders dispensing medical advice. And I think that a lot of them do already. And I think that's a concern.
Right. So are you pro having maybe registered nurses being hired or on contract with dispensaries in order to provide those medical education?
100%.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that's a really interesting question, and I'm curious where you draw that line. Like, what is considered okay advice from a bud tender, and where does it then start to cross that line into giving medical advice? Because can I tell you it can help you sleep? Can I tell you if somebody comes to me and says I need help with treatment with cancer, can I make recommendations? I mean, where does it kind of start to get a little murky? And is that also in violation of any regulations?
I think the whole thing is murky when we start talking to people about ailments. And sleep is one thing, cancer is another thing. You know, I had a woman approach me at one of the dispensaries that I do consulting for, who said that she was just diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and she absolutely was not going to do any chemotherapy treatments. And could I recommend a product for her that she could use to deal with her cancer? And I said, no, I'm sorry, I can't recommend anything for you to do that. And she said, why? And I said, because I'm not a doctor. And that's exactly why. So she already had some protocols in line in her head from the internet. And I just told her, if that's what you want to do, this is an RSO type oil. And if that's what you want to do, then you're going to make those decisions and those protocols on your own.
So at the internet, everybody's doctor.
Right. That's why I say I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on the internet.
Well, it's interesting. Is that a place where you can get into trouble too?
Right.
I mean, if you've got, somebody from the Department of Health and Human Services coming in and they're playing somebody who does have cancer, can they nail you if your bud tender starts giving them medical advice?
I don't have the answer to that. I haven't heard anything about that. I'm sure that is, product liability. That's liability at the level of the dispensary owners just for having their own liability insurance for themselves and their employees. This is a big concern in this area. That's not something that I deal with regards to training levels with the food safety and the responsible vendor program, and not even with a sales training program. When I do health coaching, which is another whole topic, but it's kind of like we're in that right now, I provide guidelines for people. I never give them medical advice. Just like I do with food and nutrition and exercise and balance and spirituality, I give suggestions about what somebody can do to make their life better, feel better, but I don't tell them that they have to do this, or, I talk about lifestyle instead of medication.
Yes.
Very smart.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being an area where people get nabbed, because they're very intense about it with product. You can't make any medical claims about product. So
Right.
I would imagine that behind the counter trying to sell a product that you're not medically qualified to sell could end up,
Right.
I don't, where there's such a backlog right now in enforcement of regulations that I see this probably being something down the road, but it's a little disturbing when I've gone into dispensaries. I like to do my own little secret shopping and seeing, and I go in with my mother who's in her 70s and we play completely dumb as to, what the products do and how much things cost and, what the efficacy is. And
Sure.
And it just blows my mind. Some people think they know everything and go way too far in their recommendations. Other people just want you, come on, move along, turn and burn, get out of the counter now. We've got a line forming. And then you have the people who don't know anything giving advice. And I don't know. I don't understand why this isn't taken more seriously.
This is one of the things that we go over in the responsible vendor program, is that we are not physicians. And unless you are a physician or you are a licensed nurse working at a dispensary, you have no right to give medical advice, and you need to stay away from that. Like, that's something that we go over in the responsible vendor program, because we're just people, It's like bartenders behind the bar. We're not going to tell someone, oh, drink this, it'll cure your insomnia. It's like, maybe it won't, maybe it will, but we don't have those conversations. So why are sales associates behind the counter of a dispensary providing that same information?
The other issue that has come up is
because I know for myself, I'm a licensed nurse.
Oh, you are?
Yes, I'm a licensed registered nurse. So I definitely, it is disturbing, like you said, Kyra, when you see things like that and you go in and play completely dumb and they're telling something. I said, no, that's not right. I'm pretty sure that's not right, because with myself, I'm a licensed practicing registered nurse. So it's just scary to hear the things that they are recommending and over advising or just making up things. I'm like, oh, really?
Didn't know that till you told me.
Right. Yes, and I know.
Yes, I'm a registered nurse.
So I have some informal training, and I still won't take that. I still won't cross that line. I'm very respectful of that, and I think that that's something that we need to really impress upon the sales associates at the dispensary level, that they need to be respectful of that line.
I agree. Yeah. The other thing that was brought up recently was the need for inventory control, and that is your basically number one spot of vulnerability when you run a dispensary or have
every 2 weeks. Inventory has to be fully counted for every 2 weeks, and that's again other subject matters that we go over in the responsible vendor program. It's like, how often are these things supposed to be being done? So we go over all of this information.
Okay, when are we doing a webinar, Karin? I as I'm sitting here looking at this, I know we've had you post several times things about employee training in the group, and it gets very little traction.
Right.
And you're not booking a bunch of classes, and I don't understand why. This is so critical.
Maureen and I wonder the same thing. You know, and I guess the answer is very, you know, it's very telling when we reach out to some of the local municipalities and we get absolutely zero response back from them when we are providing a service that they have written into their regulations that is a requirement, and we can't even get them to respond. How are we going to get the dispensary owners to respond when the regulators won't respond?
Wow.
When I have the regulators in Mammoth Lakes and in Mono County, who services the entire county, show up at a regulator at a class, like I said, they were totally blown away at the information that we were providing to this dispensary. And there's 3 dispensaries up there, and only one of them reached out to get the class. And then so we reached out to the other 2 and said, hey, we're providing this class. Do you want to send your employees? And they're like, nah, not yet. And it's required for any of their employees to even be selling anything before they can even sell anything. They have to take this class in that particular county. So it's a road, and we are here to help ease people into compliance. So, you know, as much as we can be frustrated about that and why we're not booking people to come into the classes, we have had some. And we are grateful for the people who are walking into compliance and walking into this responsibly, and showing people that are in the space that other people are being responsible. Other people are doing compliance classes. Other people are providing food certification and food safety classes. You know, the silly thing is, you know, we do a whole video for like 20 minutes on just hand washing in the food safety class. And people are blown away at how to properly wash your hands. They're like, really? I have to do that for 20 seconds?
Yes, you do. We like to say, sing the happy birthday song.
Yes. And then they wonder why they can't have a drink in their food, in their area. It's crazy. But you know, like I said, we have fun. We enjoy the class. We make the food safety class, you know, I joke that we're going to teach you how not to cross-contaminate your chicken and your cannabis, because we're going to teach you how to cook your chicken properly so you pass the test, but we're also going to talk to you about cross-contamination of cannabis. And people are like, cross-contamination of cannabis, what does that mean? Like, how about your tongs? The tongs that you're using in the different jars, you've just cross-contaminated all your cannabis. They're like, oh.
Wow.
Okay, Karin, we need to do something special for women entrepreneurs in cannabis and for Caden Academy. And we need to light a fire under these product owners and dispensary owners, because this is not
a joke.
It's not a joke. And
No.
I don't want these women losing their businesses, because 6 months from now, when all of these municipalities start to get really serious about it and realize, hey, we can collect money on fines, we can shut people down that we don't like, and using this as leverage to do so. I think it was Heather Schaefer that I spoke with, and she was talking about her father, Dale, as an attorney. We were talking about the extinction event that they're calling an extinction event that we're in right now because of the issue.
Yes.
And she said, you know, it piss poor planning.
Right.
And here we are again with another very serious, I mean, way more serious than packaging in terms of your liability. Because if you've got people giving bad advice, if you've got people cross-contaminating, if you've got people violating food safety and IDing and all of these other things, we're just going to see another round of this in 6 months to a year. And I think that's awful. So let's do something small that doesn't give it all away, but that can really start to light the fire under women.
You know, one of the things that I want to address before we go is, under the Department of Public Health manufacturing regs, there's a long list of what's required for safety within the space, within the manufacturing facility, and the personal hygiene of employees. And it goes on and it lists off all of the topics that we cover in the food safety class. And then at the very end, it says, edibles manufacturers must take this specific NC certified class. So it just completely eliminated everybody who is not an edibles manufacturer to not take this food safety class. And that's good, that's great, that's whatever it is. However, other manufacturers of cannabis goods, vape oils, concentrates, shatters, waxes, butters, anything like that, that is still being ingested. And you're still in a manufacturing facility. And even though you're not going to cook chicken and you're not going to cook cannabis products or bake cannabis products or create a food source with cannabis, our food safety class goes over all of those topics. And that class is only 3.5 hours. And again, it's a 3.5 hour certification class. And although they're going to learn how to cook their chicken properly as well, it's still a class that is very beneficial to anybody who does a manufacturing product.
And how much do those classes cost?
Oh, so let me talk about the discounts. So for the ServSafe class, it's normally $87 a person. That's the food
That's
safety
it?
class. And
Oh, wow.
We're doing a 20%, a $20 off for $67 per people if you're a WEIC. For SellSmart, for the responsible vendor, we are doing a $50 off. So it's $97 instead of $147 per person. And for just basic sales training through Casey Business, it is $129 per person, $40 off from $169. So there's some significant discounts here.
Those are great prices.
I can post those. And actually, you can go to cannabistrainers.com and you can get all the pricing and a full description of the ServSafe food safety and the SellSmart responsible vendor program. And then I can put together a blurb about the sales training because I don't have anything on that on my website. I've just been doing that for years and I don't have it on my website because I don't talk about cannabis much on my website.
Wow, Karen.
For a million reasons.
Those are great prices. Great
you.
prices.
Yeah, and so
Very
these
great.
classes are not cost prohibitive at all. And if you want to do a private class, we can talk about private class and private pricing and all of that too. So if you don't want to go be involved with like your competitor to go do some classes, whatever, just be responsible and reach out. We'll do private classes as well.
Okay.
I'm doing a private class at the end of July in San Diego.
Oh, so you can go in person. Is anything online?
No, it's all in person.
Okay. So what we're going to do then is we're going to post that in the post and we will send it out in the newsletter and that discount will be good for the next week. You contact Karen with the discount code she's going to provide for us and let her know you're a member of WEIC.
The discount code will be WEIC, and I'm going to contact Heather at Cannabis Trainers right now and let her know that that discount code, with whatever class we put together. And if you have a space for class, let me know that as well too, whether it's for public or private, because we're also having a difficult time finding places to do the classes that don't cost like $500. And sometimes we don't even bring in that much revenue.
What kind of space are you looking for?
We need a space that can accommodate, maybe has a TV already that we can just plug in a laptop to do the SellSmart class. That's a 5-hour class. We need a full slideshow, but I also have a projector. We just need to be able to have some type of audiovisual and seating and tables or desks for the attendees. And if we have to just have seating and no desk, we do that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yes.
much, Karen. This has been
You're
an
welcome.
invigorating way to start.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Kim, for joining me as my co-host.
No, thank you guys. Thank you so much for the opportunity and to be able to talk with you guys. I learned a lot.
And Kim, I'd like to connect with you offline as well.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Thanks, you guys.
All right. Ladies, we have a
I'll
full-
talk to you guys soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Kira.
You're welcome. Bye-bye, ladies. We'll see you soon.
All righty.